got all this other stuff. Maybe I should just go do that instead.
Hey folks, here we are. We're here.
Whoops.
Whoa, yeah, that's how we do it here at So Chatty with Matty. Welcome to So Chatty. I'm your host, So Matty Games. I am here with amazing people. Yes, I am so stoked about this. As soon as I saw, I think it was Chris posting a date for the Kickstarter, I was like, holy crap, dude, I need to get you on the show. I want to just talk about this shit like the whole time. And yeah, and they agreed. And then
Why wouldn't we?
and then I got the kooky idea. I'm like, oh, I'll run a one shot because I'm such a great dungeon master. I'm not, but I'm doing it, and they agreed, and I was like, "Wow!" So
Yeah, you done goofed. You done goofed, brother. Like this is it's not gonna end well, but it's gonna be so much fun as we set it all on fire.
yeah, I mean, but that's okay because I've learned. I've been doing this a long time. I've been playing D&D since I was 14. Yeah, and I'm 41. Yeah, do the math. That's a lot of years. I've learned DMs, you don't prep that much because, like if you do, you're just gonna, they're gonna blow it all up anyway. So I like to, just kind of play off my players and, yeah, we'll be fine. We're good.
It'll be great.
We'll see. I don't know. It could be a shit show, but hey, I get to hang out with these amazing individuals right here, and hopefully, let me bump this out, make sure we're set here. Yep, popped out. Great. And then, of course, we have our suggestion box at the bottom of the screen. And if you have a question for our guest, because we're going to be talking Retroverse all fucking night, okay?
All night.
It
Settle
is,
in 6 or 7 hours at least.
yeah, we're going to be talking Retroverse for like the next hour and a half or something like that. And then we're going to play in the Retroverse for the next 3 hours after that. It is maddening. And, so my first guest is literally, he just woke up from a nap because he's over in Spain, right? Or Spain?
Yeah.
Spain. That's what I thought. Spain, folks. It's really fucking late there right now. So, and this is just the beginning. We're settling in for like the next 4.5 hours. So, thankfully, he got some rest, but he is the artist behind all the amazing shit that comes out of these people's brains. It is fantastic. I'm a big fan. I love him to death. Luis, how you doing, buddy?
Very well. It's true. It's very late. 2 a.m. already. I plan on maybe finishing the one shot. It will be 6:30.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's true. I'm also the artist for the Retroverse. So yeah.
Awesome.
You're so much more than that, though. You're so much more than that because it wouldn't exist without a bunch of the crazy ideas you throw my way and all the little details you put in your art. So like, you're not just the artist. Like you are at least half of this whole thing.
You guys are co-creators of this. Like honestly, as much as I've talked to you guys about this and heard stories, it's a 50-50 thing. You guys couldn't do this without each other, and it's beautiful and magical, and I love it. And so many people love it too. I'm not alone. Yep. People are big fans. So my next guest, I've only got 2 guests tonight, folks, because they're that awesome. My next guest, he's the writer. He's the guy who does all the typing and puts all the words and things. And, takes those crazy ideas and mixes them with his crazy ideas and mashes it up to a fantastic symphony of awesome. We'll say, why not?
I'll take that. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Chris, how you doing, bud?
I'm all right, thank you. You may know me from my movies. I spend too much time on Twitter, and my other movie, Oh God, What Have I Done? So.
Oh yeah, I am also in those movies, but.
Yeah, we're starting our next feature project. Oh God, What Have I Done? The I've been on to Twitter too long series.
Yeah.
When you're at like it's 2 a.m, you're like, wait a minute, no one else is tweeting right now. Why am I still awake?
Yeah. I know. It's
like the other day I was on Twitter and you typed me like, hey, I think this for the defragger, and I'm like, it's 10 a.m. for me.
Yeah, you sent me the message. Go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. I went to sleep and then woke up like 5 hours later, and I really wanted to be like, okay, I'm awake again. Let's keep working.
I get that. I totally get that. I wish I didn't, but I do. I get it.
Yeah, tis the plight.
But then again, like I said, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I wouldn't change it for the world. Life is good, like we get to create shit, and that's amazing. And the fact that there's even a couple people out there that like give a shit about what we create is amazing. And it's not just like your friends saying, oh no, that's great, dude, you're doing great, like you're awesome, yeah. Keep it up, dude. And then just like,
it's not your mom like messaging you, hey, I heard you were playing video games on the internet, that's really cool,
right?
You're gonna be really popular, you're the best.
I know.
Thanks, Mom.
Wow.
I love you too.
Oh, Mom.
You don't understand anything about technology.
Oh, well.
I heard you were on YouTube. Wow, it's really hard to get on that platform, isn't it? Yeah, Mom. Yeah, I've been busting hump. It's a real break for me.
Yeah, all those years of nothing. Like, my mom could get on YouTube. Okay, so and yeah, nobody wants to watch that. So no, actually, I'm sure a lot of people,
I would. Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people would want to watch that because. Okay. I digress. So, what I like to start here is with my guests, and I know Chris, you've been on the show, but you were on like I think maybe episode 2 or 3, like real early on.
Real early on, sounds right.
And honestly, one of my favorite early shows because like both you and Jen at the Backclam had a lot of experience with the Kickstarters, and you were able to really dive into a lot of helpful information. And I think, and I tell people to this day, I'm like, if you are thinking about doing a Kickstarter, like go check that episode out. There's a lot of helpful nuggets right in there. And we're just shooting the shit. So, how I like to start these is I like to ask about your introductions to tabletop role-playing games. And I'll start with Luis. So could you tell us about your introduction to tabletop role-playing games?
Basically, one day I was in a friend's house. We used to play a lot of video games. Like he had like 3 or 4 computers, and we played League of Legends all night and all this stuff. But one day, all the power was out, and we couldn't use the computers. And one of our friends had the great idea of saying, maybe we can try tabletop role-playing games. And we never played video games again.
Well, there you go.
And that night,
and I threw my Game Boy in a fire
6 years ago, maybe.
That's awesome. Okay, as a person who is not like, I am not a video game player. I don't get them. I'm terrible at them. I'm, like, I mean, I've always been pretty crap at them, even, when I was a kid. So, it's like I try, but I don't really get it. The fact that, like, you guys were, like, big time video game players and literally just, like, gave it up as soon as you tried role playing games. Oh my god, that's awesome. I love that story.
Yeah, because role-playing game gives you something that video games don't, and it's like creativity in general. And
yeah, video games, they're designed for you to beat them. They're designed for you to go through a specific process. Even sandbox games like Minecraft or World of Warcraft or Skyrim, those sort of things, there's still a set amount of things you can do. There's still a set path to complete something. Like if I go through a dungeon, it's going to be pretty much the same. You, Matty, we all go through the same dungeons. It's the same. It doesn't matter. But if we go through that dungeon in a role-playing game, we're going to spend 4 hours arguing about stalactites, and there is something beautiful about that.
I agree.
Right? Okay.
That gold piece you pick out of like an urn in Skyrim or something like that, like it's just a gold piece. It doesn't matter. But in the role-playing game, like there's so much to just that one little thing that you could find, just a little bit of detail, and suddenly there's a whole new world you're exploring through this silly little gold piece.
Yeah, exactly. Like that key you found in the first dungeon when you started the adventure, and then in the Lich Castle you find out that it's to open the whatever thing. I mean, in a video game, if you find a key, you can go to Google and say, "What door does this key open?"
Yeah, you know exactly. Actually, it's funny when I was before I took up all of the Retroverse and was running games pretty regularly. One of my players told me that he didn't like that I didn't run pre-generated adventures because he couldn't Google what was going to happen next. He says, "I can't cheat," and I'm like, "That's the point." And I told him, even if you did look it up, if I found that out, I would change everything.
Right.
Because you're going to have fun just role-playing out what you already know is going to happen, which you could do, but not that player.
Not in my game.
Yeah, not in my game. Oh, Strahd is the big villain. Yeah, right. No, now he's a dragon.
Right. No, you know who the villain is? It's the Dungeon Master. Okay, folks. That's a real villain. Don't piss him off.
Yeah.
Or her, or they.
Them.
Do not piss them off. So, Chris, what about you? What was your introduction to tabletop role-playing games?
So I actually got a bit of a late start as compared to, Matty, you've been playing forever. But so my dad tried to play a little bit with me when I was maybe like 12 or 14-ish, somewhere in that area. And we played some second edition, and I spent 3 hours screwing around with a bush, which I didn't realize at the time that I was doing it properly. I thought I was screwing up. So I made it into some elevator, and then we never played again. And I was really bummed about it because I read like all of the player's manual and didn't, I never realized that there was this huge world out there of people playing. There was nobody around me. So I gave that up for a long time, and then just happened to run into a group locally where I live now. I was playing every Tuesday night, and one of their players moved away, and I was like, "Hey, is there a spot? Can I come play?" And so the Dungeon Master gave me an NPC that he had written, and it just said the Duke's Man at the top because that's what he worked. And I decided that's his name now. And so the Duke's Man was my first character, and he was wonderful. And it was second edition as well. This is a man by the name of Dave, who I've done some podcast with, and I want to continue to do with, because he's been doing it since it started, and he's just a wealth of knowledge, like super smart guy. Love picking his brain on stuff. But I played that. The Duke's Man died like a year later, and I played taps at the table, and it was terrible, and everyone was sad, and I still think about the Duke's Man to this day. But he was like, "Hey, do you want to try? You should do it. You could do it. I think the way you you role play this pretty well. Like, you could probably pick this up. Okay, sure. So I picked up the second edition books, and I started running in second edition about 5 years ago, and then moved over to fifth edition about a year after that, and then just started. It was not much longer, a couple more years, and we started working on the Retroverse. So that's a little bit longer of an answer than I think you were asking for, but it is what it is.
No, there are no like long answers. Honestly, like if you were just to say, "Oh, I started when I was 12. It was fun." That would be like, "Oh, dude, come on." You know, like no, I love the long answer. I mean, we're here, we're hanging out. There's people hanging out with us. And awesome enough, we have our first audience question. And this comes from our good friend Alton, the Staggering Giant. And his question is, what's your dream outcome for Retroverse?
I can quit my job, pay off my house, get Luis to move to where I live, and then we live together and make Retroverse.
That's magical. I love that.
Or maybe I move to where Luis lives, and then we just do that. I would have to learn Spanish, but I could do that. I could do that. Probably.
It's easy.
I'm really bad at it. I've tried so many times. Learning other languages is just really tough for me.
It's not easy. I'm like a former Californian. I born and raised, and it's not an easy language. It's really not. You know, when you're used to English, like, oh man, it's English.
It's because English is so broken. Is why it's so hard to learn anything else. It's like, wait, all these other languages follow these sort of structures and rules that make sense together. English doesn't do any of that.
No rules.
Or very little of it.
Or the rules are ridiculous.
What frustrates me. I mean, like learning English, I remember like, okay, these are the rules for English, and this book, it's all the exceptions.
And it's
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
At least it's easy for you because you're actually a genius. That is why it is not a problem for you, is because you are highly intelligent. And I love you for it.
We're really not. What about you, Luis? What is your dream outcome for Retroverse?
Well, I think it's more or less the same. I don't know. Basically, work on the Retroverse as the only job, or at least work for Lizards and Leeches as my job. Draw basically any dragon I want and have someone to write stats for it.
Yeah, I think the dream outcome is that we go well and above beyond like the goals to just make it, and make it to where, okay, this is actually feasible to where we could make this a career.
Okay.
And I'm looking at I'm looking at my savings and stuff like that, thinking, okay, if we did this, and then I could pay, and then I wouldn't have to work any, and then I could write about lasers all the time, and I could write about dragons too. Okay, cool. So that like the ultimate goal, I think the dream is what is our goal, and is what we're going to attain, whether we have to rip it out of the hands of gods or not. It would be nice if it was a little bit easier, but like Luis and I have put in a ton of work so far, and we plan on doing quite a bit more. But it would be nice to do it without having to be like, okay, well, how am I going to eat this week?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the reality of it. Creating something out of nothing is always difficult, and especially Luis and I sort of bit off not more than we can chew, but quite a bit. When we started making this, we did not intend for it. But when we first started out, I remember we had conversations like, oh yeah, we'll do like a class or two, and then maybe like a little story that goes along with it. And then it just sort of like ballooned. We had a lot of feature creep for a bit, and then we cut that down to be like, okay, what do we actually want to do here? And what we initially had planned it to be on, what is it? Not Drive Through RPG, the other one.
The
DM's
DM's
Guild.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've had a full shift at work today. It's been a long day. So that was our initial plan, but then once we found out that we could not create our own world in there, and it was very important that we have that. It was very important that we be able to build lore upon this and build the characters and the classes and the species and magic. We wanted to make all of that cool stuff. We realized, okay, well, if we can't just make it and then put it up there, then we're not going to be able to make it really small. We're not going to be able to make this itty bitty thing. We're going to have to shoot for the moon and see how well we can do. And so, I mean, right now the second test wave, if I've done my numbers right, will be about 450 pages long, which is cool. It's really neat. But so eventually that'll be all of the stuff will be split off into its separate sections. We'll add a little bit more touch up here or there. And so each book will probably be about 300 pages about, and that'll be all us. So that's really cool. But we couldn't, I don't think we could do it in any less.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. And I think it's great that like dream big, like don't dream small. Like that's not a dream. That's just like, I hope this happens. That'd be nice.
Yeah. It'd be really cool.
Dream. And because you never really know what's possible until you try, honestly.
And we probably could have done like just the Hollow Knight class and released it somewhere, and it probably would have made a little bit of a splash, and then we release another little thing, and that would have been probably an acceptable way to go about what we're doing. But I don't think we would have even thought of that where we were.
Also, at the beginning, we didn't have it very clear, not even the world, because we were going to do, like, the Retroverse was inside a computer, like a game where the players got sucked in. And then we said, like, no, this is too big. We have to make it. And as we expanded the world, the classes, the monsters, and we just had no measurement. You had to cut us. And like, okay, maybe not make 10 dragons.
We were like, okay, well, let's make we have 4 dragons, but the monster manual, they have their chromatic. There's 6, right? So let's do 6. Oh wait, no, there's only 5. Ah, crap. Oh, we did 6.
I mean, there's 10 dragons if you include the good ones and the bad ones. There's 10. That's a lot of dragons.
So we got a trash dragon. Now we got to do a radioactive dragon. What are the other 2?
We will figure it out.
You'll figure it out.
Godzilla.
We're
just putting in Godzilla now.
What, you don't have a radiation dragon already? I mean,
we have plans for it, but
see, there you go.
Yeah, we have lots of like things that are like, oh, eventually this will be content, but right now we don't really have the time to put it in there, and so we need to focus. But Luis is right. Like, we went through I think a couple different iterations on sort of what is this world. The initial one was like, it's like a computer and you're in there, and then we're like, it's cool, but it's very limiting.
Yeah.
And it makes it to where like it has to work in specific ways and people are going to expect it to work. So what if we just like it went a little bit bigger and eventually settling on it's an unstable universe that wobbles, intersects other universes. That way people can play whatever they want. You can pull whatever from whatever universe and it just works.
Well, that's the magic behind it is, and it's really everyone's own interpretation in a way, because we all kind of have our own ideas and thoughts of like what is retro or what fits in that scope. Because like personally, I love everything. The one thing that I don't get, because I was older when it came out, is the Gore Ranger, because I'm like, Power Rangers, dude, I was older. I was not, and it wasn't my thing. I wasn't a kid when this was out. It wasn't like a big thing to me. It was actually kind of annoying, because my little brother was really into it,
Yeah. I hated Blue's Clues because of my sister too,
yeah,
but
you get it. So it's like the whole, I'm like, I think this is cool and everything, but I'm like, I don't want this in my game. Like, I'm like, no, you can't do that. No.
and this is the beautiful thing is you can't, like, any of our stuff. I put a thread up on Twitter not too long ago, is that we have tried to build everything within its own space, so that there's definitely interconnected systems, and corruption is like probably the biggest one that does that. But you don't need to take everything. You don't have to learn this whole system. It's just 5e. We haven't really made a bunch of new things on top of it that you have to play our game.
Right.
Like the shiny table is like, it's cool, and we really hope that you use it, because it will change your game, and it's a very easy and quick way to change things up. But you don't have to if you don't want to, and it's not gonna. Your whole game isn't gonna break because you don't have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the Goranger's been changed to the Henshin. So just point of note, I guess.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because I've just got the stuff from last
time. I know. There's so much stuff, like looking back at that first test wave, like there's really cool stuff in there, but there's also some glaring issues that you notice over time.
Well,
like typo stuff even, that I'm like, how did I miss this?
Well, typos are one thing, but I am curious, looking back at that first test wave, and all of the content that was put out, because there was a lot. There was really a lot in there. What are some of those things that you were like, okay, either this has to change, this has to go, or this is, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, what aspects were there in that?
There's been a bunch. Is there anything, Luis, that like stuck out to you on stuff that we had to change?
Well, basically the subclasses, I guess, but we already knew we were going to put them, so
yeah, it's one of those things where it's another legacy of how we started and not really knowing what we were going to do. I had built these classes and we're like, yeah, these are pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I like these. And then before we release, like, I remember us having a conversation specifically about the Code Warlock, which is now the Apogee, and being like, we could probably break this into a couple subclasses, couldn't we? Like, because it's basically just Goku, Darth Vader, and some other stuff all mixed up together. It's like, what if we like broke that up? And then when we released it, people were like, "Yo, where are the subclasses at?" And so we just had to do that. So that's been probably the biggest change.
Okay.
That's like content that's been totally revamped. When it comes to like we've added a bunch more content, which I'm sure people will break as well, and that will be fun to go through those notes. It's great, but like definitely have to be in the right headspace when I go to read like the feedback, because nobody's been mean or anything like that, but it's hard when you pick apart our baby. Like, this feels bad. But the subclasses have been the biggest revamp. There's been definitely a lot of changes in some of the spells, but most of that has been language or making sure that a spell is actually varied enough from an existing spell to be like to warrant its existence. And then just adding things like death throws. I spelled it wrong in the first test wave, and so now we have two spells. We have death throws, as in like my final moments, and you create an illusion where you are dying, and the other one where it's death throw, where if someone dies, you can take that negative energy and throw it at somebody.
Okay, that's awesome.
We really wanted. Luis and I love necromancy.
Yeah,
right?
we love it, and I seriously think it's really underdeveloped in the 5th edition vanilla version. Okay. So we have a bunch of crazy necromancy.
Necromancy is like, why is this not? It's the coolest magical. It's everything. Yeah. And why are we not using more necromancy?
Which also, speaking back to the things that will probably change, I think. I mean, I know you're already reworking the Restless.
Yeah, definitely. The Restless have got some bugs. They did, but I think I've got them all worked out, because the issue is getting cured with necrotic energy, and this is like really, we're going to get into the weeds for a second, and there are cantrips and first level spells and stuff that heal you with necrotic energy. First level spells not necessarily a problem. It's something that you'll just have to make sure and account for if you have a Restless within your party. Right. The issue is also spells that are vampiric in nature. So I deal 5 necrotic damage to you and I heal myself 5 necrotic damage. So how do I make it to where you're healed with necrotic energy and still have that? And there's some easy ways to make that, and the basic way is like, you can't be healed with cantrips because that is way too weak magic to heal your crazy skinless skeletal form. So you're not getting healed with cantrips, sorry. Second part is you only get healed from necrotic damage. If something is trying to heal you, if it says it heals you 4 points, it does not. Only necrotic energy. The third thing is making explicitly clear that if someone attacks you and like they say, hey, I'm going to hit you for 5 necrotic, which will heal you, and then I'll be healed for 5 points, and we just get unlimited health, they don't get any healing from dealing you necrotic damage. So it changes the way spells work a little bit and makes it weird with that class, with that species. But I think it's an important and fun way to break it up.
Yeah. Oh.
It's certainly a weird class. One of my players the other day was running a test one shot, and he played a Restless, a rebooted one that are shiny, if you remember.
Yes.
And he also took the feet shiny, so he was 2 colors shiny.
I was so hoping someone would do that.
So he had 2 personalities, depending on what kind of light he was hit with, and it was crazy. And I don't know, because one part of me was like, maybe we should specify that people cannot be twice shiny. But again, I was like, no, but this is too good.
Right? Yeah, no, that's amazing. Like, so absolutely. Yes. So there's in there, the rebooted are essentially skeletons that were just like, the hell? And they get to roll on the shiny table because that was a request. People were like, hey, I would like to have the shiny variations for my characters. I'm like, okay, sure, we can do that. And there's also a feat where you can roll on the shiny table if you want to change your character up. So, that's wonderful, Luis. That's so exciting.
Huh.
But it changes some things a little bit. It changes some things dramatically in some ways, which it was just a lot of fun. So, man, that's really cool.
Now, I was going through the materials that you guys put out for that included the Restless there, and I was okay, guys, I'm an idiot, like sometimes I read stuff, it doesn't like sink in, I don't get things sometimes, I'm not that smart. I was reading a lot of this stuff over and over up until really late the other night, but I got kind of confused. So I'm gonna ask you guys, because you're the creators and you put this out there. So, and folks, you watching at home, if you already know the answer to this, like or whatever, please know that I'm just not as smart as you. Okay, so be cool. Now it was saying that for the Restless, they essentially, instead of like ability adjustments, they get 2 feats when they start. Do they not have ability scores? I was confused.
So that's something that we're sort of working on, and when we were looking at the Restless, we wanted to make it very different than any of the other like races and species. We want it to be something where when you're playing this, it's a very unique experience that you're not gonna. It's not just like, oh, it's sort of like a half orc. It's sort of like an Aarakocra. Like, so we have taken that, and that is now a variant feature that you can use. Sort of like the humans have either gain this, or you can take a feat and that sort of thing. The idea is that, at the beginning, you don't get an ability score improvement directly. You take 2 feats, and then whenever you level up, or you get that power up, or where you would get +2 or +1 to 2 things, you don't get that. You just don't get it. And you have to take a feat instead. Which, personally, I would play the hell out of that, because that seems like it's forcing you to make some very serious character decisions. Unfortunately, not everybody likes feats, and not everybody uses feats, which I can be like, well, not everybody uses our game either, but that's a whole other side tangent. So to make it a little bit easier for people, they do get an ability score improvement now, and they do level up like normal characters. However, you can take this variant feature if you want, to where that doesn't happen. And I'm very much hoping that people go down that road, because it seems like one that would be far more interesting to play than just like if they get ability score improvements just like everybody else.
Okay.
But sometimes people just want to play like a wizard, and they just want to get smarter over time, and I get that, and go for it,
I get that too, and and oh gosh, there are so many times I hit that point where I'm like, ooh, I get a feat. I can get some cool feat. And then I just increase my ability score, because I'm like, I want to be able to cast spells better. So there you go.
Yeah, but really, it's like all you're doing is getting 1 or 2 numbers a little higher, and that sense of progression is important. That sense of progression is nice. It feels good when you level up. That's why I've played JRPGs so much, because man, I love leveling up. But at the same time, like, there's something to be said about this is a role play game. Like, let's make some hard decisions.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that forced hard decisions, which is good and bad. We don't necessarily want to fight player instinct. We just want to offer more opportunities for things.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So, yeah. So the folks that are at home watching, and even to you guys who are playing the game tonight, I was going to include a Restless, but I didn't get it. I was like, wait, do they not have ability scores then? I was really confused when I read it, and I was like, fuck, I don't know, man. So I'll just leave it out. I'll try it next time, I guess.
That's okay. Like I said, a bunch of the stuff has gotten tweaked in some fun ways. So like, I have been reading the feedback. Now I haven't gotten to every single bit of it, because I've gotten a lot. Dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, like easily almost 100 pages worth of feedback, and I've done my best, but it's like super detailed notes, some of these things, and so we squashed a bunch of bugs, but there's still going to be some, and there may be a bug that you sent me something on, and I just didn't get to it, because as well as as much as I love squashing bugs in my own game, and that's not a terribly depressing project at all, I really enjoy writing more stuff, and that's
of course. But editing is going to be a big part of the rest of your life for this. And of course,
that's the Kickstarter.
Yeah. So, you can't get into the suggestion box. Oh, okay, Elfie. I'm sorry. My good buddy Brad has a couple questions in the chat for us, and let's see. I can't get into this. Oh, laser corgis. if you end up with like a half mastiff, half laser corgi, does it still laser?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want it
Of
to?
course.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that's awesome. I want a laser mastiff corgi.
So we have the laser corgi, right? And it's actually, so the stat block is actually laser pup, because we didn't want to specifically be like, you can only do corgis with this. And in the lore we've written, it is just canines. It is just small puppies. So if you wanted a little dachshund, a little wiener dog to shoot lasers, and you absolutely can. A big philosophy behind the Retroverse is don't limit people.
Right.
You know, let's show them what they can do, and then let them think outside the box beyond that.
Right. That's one of the things I love. And then, oh yeah, and then this is actually a question I had for myself, and then I thought, oh, probably so. If the feat gives you an ability score boost, like, you know, do they still get that? Get it. Okay, there you go. So that's what I
basically you take the feat exactly as it says. You just don't level up like normal characters would.
So it's like, so yeah, instead of having that, those ability bonuses, you take the feats. You take feats, and whatever they say, it is. You know, and
yeah, that is what it is. And if you're shiny, for example, you take the bonuses you get there.
Okay.
Make some notes. Let me double check a few things.
You know, or whatever.
Yeah, I've only written 3 novels worth of content, which is... What was I thinking? The sequel, what was I thinking?
Well, you're dreaming big. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
So on the laser corgi, real quick, one of the things we do want to do with the Kickstarter is have a day 1 funding goal. And so if we're funded on day 1, we will add laser corgis to the playable races.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah,
I can't wait to make the art.
It will be a sub race of the Wonari, but it will be a playable sub race. Did I just break Matty?
They will still shoot the laser from the mouth, not like
absolutely, yeah. Not through the eyes. They still bark and lasers come out.
Oh my god, I love it. Oh my god, I want to play that. Oh my god, I want it.
So we really want to incentivize people like, hey, yo, we need to fund on day 1 so that then we can start looking at what goes beyond that.
Right, Mike.
Hopefully that's a good incentive.
I agree. That's it. Just take my money. I just like, you know, I don't have any left, but here, take it. Whatever it's left. So
I'll take your love too, Matty. Like just a big heart and a big hug.
You always have that. Okay. Oh, here we go. So let me jot that. Well, okay. Just because I see it in chat, Paul's here. He's asking a question in chat. Though maybe he couldn't get into the suggestion box. I don't know. I do have one in the suggestion box ready to go. I'm gonna ask his first because I will probably forget it and lose it. Because I'm not smart. Remember. Yeah. So if you multi-class the Power Ranger class, the Henson,
the Jim Henson is a completely different thing. The Muppet race. We are working on a Muppet race.
Awesome.
Just there.
Awesome. With another like King Fury, are you still a commoner who has to transform first to get your class abilities?
So no, we've changed that up a bit because as cool as that is, it doesn't like mechanically. It's really broke. Because you go down to like 4 HP, and some of our feedback was like, "Yo, a goblin could kill you in your sleep at level 20, and that's not cool at all." Okay, that makes sense. So basically, when you are in your commoner form, whenever you're trying to make attacks with, I think specifically with things you're proficient in because of your Henshin class or any of that, you can't use your Henshin abilities at all. and any weapon attacks you make are made at like disadvantage. Your proficiencies they receive a negative. Your damage is reduced. It's essentially become just like a worse version of yourself. Which keeps it to where like, yeah, you could multi-class. You could still use other abilities from other classes. I think I've written it to where you don't get the penalty if you're using that. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe I was like, no, man, you gotta be in your form. Deal with it. But either way, it's no longer you're just a commoner. It is. It's been changed to where you're just like you, but kind of cruddy.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah,
it does. A lot of the things that we designed were like things that. The idea makes a lot of sense, but mechanically and the execution of that wasn't quite there. So that's why we're continuing to test and iterate and send out new content.
Well, and that's with everything. You know, like whenever you create something new, you got to throw it out there. You got to try it out. You got to test it out. And
yeah.
And when it comes to games, whether it's a role-playing game, computer game, a board game, players will find something wrong. You know.
Oh yeah.
They find all the stuff that's not working, and you don't find that out until you start playing it. You know, and then you find it and you fix it and you tinker and you know, this is all important stuff.
And I can say from a design standpoint, we've just gotten better at it. I mean, because when we first started, like, I don't want to say like we're pros or anything, but we were kind of raw amateurs in some ways at some of that stuff. Where, I mean, Luis, you've been running games for a while. Like we've built our own home stuff, but making it, you know, play testable and surviving players is a very different experience.
Yeah.
As a game master, I've never worried about balance or anything. So you're alone there.
Yeah.
That's understandable, but when you put something out there, like you really have to think about those things, because I usually didn't either. I usually don't, honestly. I'm like, balance, you know, like screw it.
You balance on the fly, you know, and you balance according to your players, and that's what people are still going to do at the Retroverse. It's still going to be broke as shit after like 4 or 5 sessions, because you gave them a Vorpal sword. What were you thinking? Oh my God, how did you not think that this was? But then you balance around that, you know, and that becomes part of the game. But the baseline where they start off at has to be balanced. It has to start good.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be going in with like, oh, he's as strong as a 20th level fighter at 4th level. It's like, it doesn't work.
Okay. This question is genius. It's beautiful. So though it's from Anonymous, because the suggestion box doesn't always like to, you know, like someone could say, oh, sure, put my name in, and then it won't. But people can ask anonymous questions too. Either one. It's all
fine
good.
By me.
I don't judge. Can we get pixel dragons, 2D dragons that can, for example, hide against walls as graffiti?
Yes.
Oh, it's Mike. It's Mike D and Durkin. There you go.
No, absolutely. So, Pixel Dragons is one of those things where we have written in our scratch notes as just like 2 words we slap together, and it will eventually become something. But I was thinking about it today. We had initially wanted to add maybe some status conditions, and I haven't even talked to you, Issa, about this, but I was thinking maybe they'd work better as like curses. And one of the conditions would be like pixelated. And so you are flat. You are a 2D representation of your thing. You have advantage on like stealth checks and stuff, but you do half damage and you have disadvantage on a bunch of other stuff. So until you get this cure for the curse, you're an 8-bit version of yourself. Would you like that, Matty? Is that a good idea? Would you enjoy playing that?
I love that.
Okay, cool. Then we're gonna put it in.
Yes, you can use any attack and area of effect while you're accelerated, right? Because if it's 2D,
yeah,
a fireball would just be like flat line of explosion.
Oh, that would be interesting. So like your spells wouldn't have the same area of effect.
Wow. Okay. Oh, there's a lot you could do with that. And
I think still mechanically it would just be like it does half damage or something like that. Just but explaining that it's because it doesn't explode in the same way and you're actually just shooting it in a straight line. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Also really looking forward to, if we put that in, the character art that comes out of that, of people playing in their own games, and it's like this big giant dragonborn warrior and he's got like an axe, and beside him there's like this gnome and they're wearing a guitar, and then there's like a cleric and they're just like an 8-bit representation.
That's oh my god, I love it. So much good stuff. Okay. Talking about some of the things that I did pull out to make some of the characters, and the one that really stood out, and I'm like, I can't get over this, is the King Fury monk. And specifically the one that I chose, which is the Beam Raptor one that,
of course,
that can punch and kick laser beams. And so my brain, just thinking all this shit, I'm like, oh my god, this is like so cool. Because who doesn't want to be that dude that like punches and like lasers and kicks and I almost made that a kobold too. I really did. I was like, oh,
you should have. Yeah, you should have.
I didn't. I don't know why. I know it should have been a kobold. Yeah, but
I've gotten some notes on that class. I don't know if that thing will ever be actually in the Retroverse content. I was not built with balance in mind. I mean, sort of. It was built to be. It's not broken completely.
No. But it's.
But it's a little bit out there, and there's some stuff in there that don't make no sense. If you haven't seen Kung Fury, there's just no sense at all.
I have not.
Yeah, so you need to go watch Kung Fury, because that whole class will make a whole lot more sense. It's 30 minutes of your time you well spent.
I was looking at it. I was going, you know what? I'm good. This is awesome. Because at first I'm thinking, okay, because I just looked, I just see what's on Drive-Thru RPG, and I'm like, oh, what's this? Like, it's a monk subclass. Okay, this should be interesting, because I mean, monks are always fun, and I didn't know what to expect, because I'm like, I don't know what a King Fury is, or King of Fury, or King, Cat. Seriously, no. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy everything that I see just for shits and giggles, and and then I'm like, I'm reading through it, I'm going, oh, this is fun. Oh, this is cool. Okay, I like it. I don't have to see it. I'm like, it's right there. He can kick laser beams. I'm like, I am all over that. Okay. So yeah, of course that had to be in the game. And, but talk to me about the Techno Viking and the creation process of this. Because there are some classes in D&D, like 5e, specifically, that I don't know very well. I don't really have a big drive to want to play them. And that's usually like things like druids and barbarians are one of those things. I'm like, I have no interest generally to like make a barbarian. Every time I think about it, like my head gets all weird and I'm like, I don't get it. But talk to me about this, because I find this really, really cool and fascinating. And where did that concept come from, and how did that all, come together and be built out?
Sometimes we just smash words together and say, okay, that sounds cool. But a bunch of our stuff is, there's a bunch of memes in our game that are based off internet memes from throughout time. And so the Techno Viking was one of those things where, I don't know if you've ever seen that video, but it's like a beast of a man just like walking down a street and just dancing. And then some guy's harassing a woman, he like grabs him, like chucks him. He does this number. And he's just an inspiration. Like he's a beautiful man doing a good thing and just being cool. And we're like, we could do that. We could make some class based on that.
I based the art in the exact same pose, so I think most of people got the reference.
Yeah.
The Techno Viking. And
I think that's the second version that you did of the Techno. The first one was just like a ripped woman with a guitar. What inspired you for that one?
I was feeling like drawing a ripped woman with a nice guitar and a helmet with horns. I mean,
yeah.
Most of the time, I don't know what I'm doing.
But I think that's very important, because then we come up with stuff where I look at your art and I'm like, oh wow, oh yes, oh that's beautiful. We could definitely make something out of that. And so you and I bounce back and forth a lot.
I mean, my favorite stuff is when I draw something, I have no idea what I've done. I mean, it has a lot of spikes, eyes, mouth, or whatever, and I send it to you. I'm like, I've done this. And you're like, what's that? And I have no idea. And you're like, oh, this could be the monster that hidden.
Yeah, it's this, and this, and this. Like one of the things you drew at PAX was that ink monster, and that became one of our bugs. And you're just like, I don't know, I'm going to draw an ink monster. And then when I was looking at that art and looking at what I had written for one of the bugs, I'm like, I don't know why I can't smash these together. This looks wonderful. But back to the Techno Viking question, we just wanted, we had this idea. We had the art of the beefy woman with an axe, with a guitar axe, and then we're like, hey, Techno Viking, and then you drew the Techno Viking as a beefy woman with an axe, another beefy woman with an axe,
and horns again.
And yeah, it was beautiful. It's amazing. And it was just, I think when I was designing it, a lot of it was just thinking about his art and the concepts behind it and thinking, okay, so we've got this idea of the beat of the world is one of the elements within the Retroverse. There's 6 unique elements. And one of them is the beat, which is the driving force behind a lot of stuff. And things that are influenced by the beat are not only musical, they are also very epic. Things happen in a predictable but exciting rhythm. So the beat isn't just music, it's also that final hit in the epic conflict where everything comes together, and you're looking at the cover of a metal album, and that is the beat, everything that's epic right then. So what would that look like? And spreading your rage sounded like a super good way to do that, because like now you've got a mosh pit. That's why it's called like mosh. So you hit your party member, now they're raging, and now you hit your other party member, and now they're raging, and so everybody's raging, and we're all angry, and we're all strong. And the other thing is, like, Barbarian is not very they're very much a solo class. They do well within a party, but they don't boost a party in the same way that like a cleric or a bard or anything does.
Okay. Yeah.
They have some ways to do that, but it's very minuscule. So we wanted to sort of change that up and to be like, the barbarian can also be sort of a support class,
Okay.
and can change the party dynamic. The other cool thing about the Mosh is that since it's rage, it breaks concentration, so it can be used offensively to break concentration on a spell. So Mage Hunter style.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. That can be really helpful.
Yeah, right. And barbarians typically, when you go up against a spellcaster, like a weak spellcaster, they're going to overpower them. But a little bit more powerful spellcaster, barbarian's always going to lose.
It depends, yeah. But it's
9 times out of 10, they're going to get overwhelmed with a couple fireball spells, and it's like, well, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, but that's one of the aspects of Dungeons and Dragons that spellcasters like wizards specifically tend to get really strong, powerful, in that scope of things, where they can do this like just immense amount of damage with like barely blinking an eye.
They can call meteors from the sky. So like, and that can do like a max of, I think, somewhere around 200 damage to like 10 people at once. It's stupidly strong. It's a 9th level spell, but like still, like, is that the max that we're going for here? That's interesting.
But the thing is, though, I mean, you also have to consider the fact that, and I mean, it is a lot easier now. But back when I was a kid, folks, and I played first edition AD&D, and I bring this up a lot because I like to repeat myself. Old people, we repeat ourselves. We just do. But like getting that wizard to like the powerful level was like impossible to do because like you had to survive like 1st and 2nd level. You had like 1d4 hit points. You usually had like a negative modifier in your constitution, so you probably had like 1, maybe 2 hit points at 1st level.
And you've got like a spell.
Oh like, god. And like literally like, no, you don't get to choose your spells. The DM like rolls some dice and says, this is what spells you have. And you get like 3. And you're lucky if you got anything helpful. Usually it was like, okay, you get, I don't even want to say, like, because they were dumb. Like
Prestidigitation is a 1st level spell. You get to use Prestidigitation once. Yeah, I played a lot of and read all of like 2E. I didn't quite start as early as you did, but like it was rough. Spellcasters had it rough for a long time.
Like literally, how many cantrips there are now that were 1st level spells back then? Yeah.
I think cantrip used to be a spell. Like instead of wasn't that
they introduced cantrips in the Unearthed Arcana, like the 1st edition Unearthed Arcana. They introduced cantrips, the concept of cantrips, where the magic users now had these little spells that they could just do on whim, but they weren't like as cool or as useful as the cantrips they have today. No, they were just dumb. Like
if the cantrips we have in 5th edition, if you could use those in real life, you would be revered as a god. They're really strong, even as a cantrip.
I mean, who wouldn't want to be able to toll the dead? Come on.
I mean, prestidigitation again, like dishes, poof, done.
Yeah, I would love that. Prestidigitation, just like, okay, there's my clothes. Oh, they're clean. Awesome.
Yeah, don't worry about it. So I got this, man.
We're good. What was this? This is the only way we go. Okay, yeah, I know. That's exactly it, Alton. I don't know. Okay, well, this is an odd week. There's just not. Yeah, Eldritch Blast. It's it's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can hurt somebody with cantrip. All right, cool.
Yeah, I know we have dishwashers, but it's not the same.
that is not magic.
And dishwashers don't actually wash dishes; they just sanitize them. Like, unless you got like one of those like newfangled ones or something like that, and you're really lucky.
Yeah, they don't, and they don't sanitize them all that well.
Yeah.
Those commercials where you can put a cake in there, that's magic, but that's not how that works.
Like, seriously, like, who the hell like puts a giant pan full of like crusty whatever in the dishwasher? I don't put pots and pans in my dishwasher. That's terrible. Oh, yeah, I don't know, man. So, yeah, we're getting close to the close to game time here, and so what I think we might do here is one, I'm gonna ask the folks in chat if you have any more questions, please bring them up now because question time is ending very soon. Yeah. And then we're gonna get to gaming and that kind of stuff. So if you do, please ask away. Obviously, these guys are on Twitter all the time, and you can ask them stuff all the time. So they're easily
try to respond.
They're easy
as quick as we can
to access. They're really great. Oh, there you go. I like that. What is your favorite food in the Retroverse?
Pizza with pineapple on it.
Fucking bastard.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Matty? Pineapple pizza all day, every day. Pineapple is the only acceptable pizza topping. There's no other topping that belongs on pizza. It's either
in the Retroverse.
Pineapple.
It's canon.
It's canon, yeah. All pizza slimes, all those pizza slimes that you can eat, pineapple in them, in every single one. Pizza cube, it has been drawn with pineapple in it.
God,
You've seen that.
Y'all fucking just like, everyone just hates
Pizza latte, pineapple pizza latte.
All right. I'm pulling out the cake now because like, I gotta wash this disgusting taste out of my mouth. It's pineapple on pizza. You barbarians.
So, while we're waiting for questions. Go ahead.
I hate pineapple.
Luis.
You knew that.
Did I? I might have known that.
There you go.
Luis. I feel so betrayed.
I mean, in general, the concept, the flavor, the name, everything.
You hate everything about it. That's okay. I still love you anyway. I just am a little hurt in my heart. That's all. It's okay. Anyway, while we're waiting for questions, I do have things to say about the Kickstarter that's coming up.
Yeah. Like, we should have been talking about that.
It's only like 30 minutes away. No,
It is coming up. It is on the 12th. It is only the 2nd. We have some time to go. So get ready, folks. But what information do you have for us, Chris? What do we need to know?
So I've been trying to get this word out like since we started. Like this, the second one is for the PDFs only. We will eventually be doing books. We will not be doing print on demand because it doesn't allow us to go the direction that we want to go with our books in the long run. We may eventually, once we get things set up, being like, if you really want to, you can print this out. You can pay to get it printed out. This is not going to be like the official books. This is like, this is our PDF official content, and we'll work to make it to where it looks good. But like, there's a lot of things we would like to include with our books, and so that's a big reason why it's getting put in a second Kickstarter. The second reason for all that is that we're still finalizing content, and so this first Kickstarter is to get in on that. Not just it'll be the only way to get the test stuff. So the new content is the only way to play it now. Right. Or as soon as we're done with this PDF, or as soon as the campaign is done, I will be releasing the second test wave within 30 days. of that to all of the backers. And it, like I said, it's going to be like 450 pages of content. Like, it's a lot. So getting in on that is somewhere around like the 20 range. Now, if you want the full PDFs, it's a little bit higher, so you'll get the finalized version. And if you just get on the test, you'll have everything basically you need to play, but you won't get the finalized, updated final version. Okay. With the first Kickstarter, and also as a tester, get your name in the book. So in the finalized PDFs and in the final print, your name is there. It'll be in the back as like, Matty was one of the testers. It also, the other thing about this Kickstarter is it gets you to where you can help, or not help, but you can have sort of your own personalized content in the Retroverse. So we'll have a couple spots for like, hey, have a spell named after you, and you know, you can help us to make this spell, or have a monster that you help us design, and then you'll get credits for it in the book. Also, we want to have so we have our world map that we're working on for what our version of the Retroverse looks like, or what our version of the planet that we call Cube looks like.
Okay.
So we'll be including one face of Cube within this. It actually has 6 faces because it's a cube. But we'll be including one of those. And then there's a ton of extra space in there for like villages and little interesting locations. We want people to be able to be like, hey, I want a location named after me, or named this. And then I you know, will allow people to send like 250 to 500 words of like inspirational material for what they want it to be like. We'll take that, adapt it to our stuff, and be like, okay, it's in there. Your stuff now exists within our official world, so it will always be there. It doesn't change. You know, it's the world will probably grow, but it will all of your stuff will always be in the Retroverse canon now. So the first Kickstarter is very much about like, hey, let's finish development. Let's make this really cool thing. And the second one is like, okay, now it's all done. Now let's start looking at lasers and liches proper. And people like t-shirt. Maybe we can do some merchandise now. Let's make some cool dice. Let's make, you know, all that stuff. So I hope people are very much behind that. It also makes everything cheaper for everyone in the long run, because editing is the biggest part of this next Kickstarter. It is probably the largest amount of money, and what little we have left over that basically lets Luis and I eat for a little while. And so if we go above and beyond that, it actually gets us to the point where we can start looking at, hey, let's make this a career and not just a not just a side hobby. So we can make not only that, because the Retroverse is great, but there's a lot of extra stuff that we would like to make beyond that we think people would really enjoy, but we've only got so many hours in the day. As I was telling you guys, like, I'm right now working 10 to 12 hours every single day to try and get all this done. And it's not just the Retroverse. You know, I have a regular job that I have to pay the bills with, but every hour I spend there is time we could have spent here. Yeah, and that just is the nature of the beast. So hopefully people are on board for all that idea. I really want to make sure that this first Kickstarter isn't just like, wait, we only get the PDFs? Like, yes, but you're also becoming a big part of this, and this is the only way to play the new stuff now. Right. Because you could wait 2 years, and once we're done with the finalized book, you could buy it if you'd like. But if you want to play test, be a part of it, that's now.
And who doesn't want to be a part of this? This is awesome shit. I mean,
a lot of people really like it, so that's awesome.
Well, it's because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's genius. It's batshit crazy all at the same time, but I fucking love it. Love it. Oh, so good. So okay, now that actually brings up a question. Because one of our guests is asking about the hero background. Now, I always interpreted the hero background in the first test wave as being the folk hero but is there a different hero background that you're including in this next wave?
So the hero's been sort of broken up a little bit.
Okay.
The original concept was to be like the action hero.
Okay.
And we may still revisit that, but I think it's far more interesting to visit a hero in the making, or a fallen hero. And so a lot of the hero stuff got changed into the heel, which is the I've been evil and now I would like to be the good guy.
Right.
And then sort of picked apart and put into some other things like the player, the prodigy. So in this next text wave, we have the mercenary, the player, the prodigy, the monsterologist, the mad scientist, and the heel. So those are our main backgrounds right now.
Okay. The rebel.
What's that?
The rebel.
The which one?
The rebel.
Rebel.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about the rebel. Yes, I just totally spaced. Sorry, again, long day.
Long day.
Yeah. So there's the rebel. Some other ones that we've got some notes for that I would like to include are the alien invader, which is essentially you came to this planet. Now what you gonna do? So I think that would be a fun concept to play around with. The outcast or the otaku, I think, would be something that's fun, but I'm not sure that it can sustain its own thing. So it may be one of those things that just sort of gets broken up.
Right.
But then maybe the hero could get broken up into like the old movie star or something like that. I think that might be a good way to go. There's a lot of different options we have, and we've got some notes on it, but none of that other stuff is set in stone. So if we do well here, then we'll have more of it. If not, then the classes we have are what they are, or the backgrounds are what they are.
And it is what it is. But, just let's think positively. Let's put that out in the universe, and let's get this going. Folks, if you're a fan, if you like the Retroverse, if you love the Retroverse, if the Retroverse gives you tiny little never mind.
Warm fuzzy feelings.
We'll say warm fuzzy feelings. That sounds more yeah. Get out there on Twitter and just talk it up. Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Like, I'm sure you can convince your mom to back a Kickstarter. It's
tell your mom and tell her to tell her YouTube fandom.
That's right, because she's a big star on YouTube.
Yeah. But I want to focus that home. We live and die by word of mouth. We have only gotten to where we are because people are like, hey, that is a cool thing. I like this. And then they tell their friend, and the friend says, oh, this is a cool thing. I like this. So don't underestimate the power of telling somebody about this stuff if you want to see it succeed. Like, that is, aside from backing us on Kickstarter, that is like numero uno on ways to help us not spend all of our time behind a cashier or cash register.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, new background, child of a YouTube star. I love it. God damn it.
On that, actually, we do have something I'm excited to add. In the next test wave, we have an item that logs into what's called the Arcane Eye Network. And essentially, they are goggles that you can wear that stream out your adventuring. So you can be an adventuring streamer if you want, as like your job, or you can watch other fantasy streamers. So I really want to see what people do with that concept of like, it's a fantasy world, except also there's streamers for, there's magic.
That's really meta. That's so meta.
It's super meta.
That's so meta. Oh my god, that's blowing my mind. We're going to take a break here, folks. We need to bring on our good friends, Hannah and Paul, at Stop That Old Woman and at Andaluth. They're going to be joining us for our one-shot, We need to bring him onto the thing. I need to set up the whole, you know,
Yeah.
and
The flim flam flumaflums.
and somewhere in there, I got to go to the bathroom and stuff. So you know, there's gonna be a little screen that says like we'll be back, and there's gonna be some synth music playing because synth is awesome. But yeah, we'll be back in about. I would say, I'm gonna try to keep it to 20. I hope 20 minutes most. But yeah. So, stick around. We got a one shot in the Retroverse, which I'm calling into the Retroverse for whatever reason because I don't know. I'm not original. I don't know, man. Oh, this is gonna be fun. 3
It's
more
exciting.
hours, and I'm already tired. What's up? Oh, I'm old. It's all good. Yeah. I am. Wait, what? Who? Huh? Oh, okay. That's fine, Mike. That's fine. I love you. Have fun. Okay. So we will be right back, and let me make sure I hit the right thing. There we go.